Hello everyone and welcome to another movie review video. Today we're going to be looking at 2010's 127 Hours. You guys voted for this movie in the community tab and the three other movies in that poll did not stand a chance. This thing won by a lot. 127 Hours is based off the true story of climber and canyoner Aron Ralston, who got stuck in a crevice, a big canyon, and a rock was pressed up against his hand and he was stuck there for, you guessed it, 127 hours. According to the man himself, this movie apparently is pretty accurate. It's kind of hard for me to judge the movie when this is based off a real life story, so I can't be like, wow, this sucked when, someone actually went through this experience. But the movie doesn't suck. That was a harsh word to use. It just was, it was just okay. It did not a whole lot for me. I've seen my fair share of stuck in a terrifying situation movies, and this is definitely at the bottom of the pile. While it's not bad by any means, it just doesn't have enough for me to where I'll go back and rewatch this in the future. It's probably just going to be a one and done, and I think that's okay. Those are just my opening thoughts on the movie, but now let's recap 127 Hours and see exactly what goes down, besides James Franco, obviously. The movie starts off with Aron getting ready to leave for his big canyon adventure. He has his video camera with him, and he's doing a little bit of vlogging. He sleeps in his truck, and then that Saturday, he's off on, well, I guess not the road, off on the trail, I guess. He's bike riding across some of the hills heading towards the canyon. He gets knocked down, but he gets back up again. He chains up his bike and starts to head out on foot. Before he gets too far into his journey, he sees two ladies named Megan and Christy who appear to be lost. They're looking for a place called the Dome, and lucky for them, Aron knows exactly where that is. He leads the way, but instead of going under some rocks, he decides to show him a more fun route. The girls and Aron are squeezing their way through a tight canyon. Aron says everything's gonna be okay. Oh no! Nah, he's okay. The girls follow and join him in the water. They have some fun at the Dome and then they go their separate ways. But Christy and Megan invite Aron to a party. He says he'll see him at the party and then goes on his way. He continues on his walk, going in crevices and taking pictures. He tries to go down a tighter spot, but a huge rock comes out of place, causing him to fall. The rock falls with him and pins his hand up against a wall. He uses all of his power to try and lift, pull, and push the rock, but it will not budge. He calls out for Christy and Megan, but he is all alone. Aron empties his pockets and places everything he has with him on his new rock friend. He uses a dull knife to try and chip away at the rock, but after an hour, he drops his knife. But to my surprise, he's actually able to use a stick with his foot and pick the knife back up. The sun has gone down and he is still trying to chip away at the rock. Once midnight hits, he drinks some of his remaining water. He starts to work on plan B and he makes like a pulley system or something with his grappling equipment. Later on, he asks a raven for help, but the bird just straight up ignores him.
Hey.
How rude. Aron's at least able to enjoy a little bit of warmth as some sunlight creeps into the crevice that he's stuck in. Here's where we start our first of many flashbacks and visions, I guess. And this one's of him and his dad. He pulls out his video camera and starts to record a video diary. 24 hours stuck in the Blue John Canyon. His thumb is turning bluish gray. He's low on food and water, but then some rocks and sand fall on him, so he thinks somebody might be above him. When he cries out for help, though, he gets no response. He puts his gear back on and bundles himself up as the night gets colder. He starts to envision himself at Megan and Christy's party. As he takes his contacts out, he thinks back to before he left when he didn't answer his mother's phone call. He goes back to work on his pulley system, but his attempts to escape are not successful. As his mouth gets drier and drier, he starts to think about all the refreshing beverages that he can't have. He takes a little piss break and goes back to recording his video diary. He finally decides that it's time to cut his arm off, but the knife is too dull. Once again, he's thinking about his family. He also keeps having flashbacks to this girl laying next to him in his truck. But the visions have to stop temporarily because out of nowhere, a storm starts. On one hand, it gives him more water. But on the other hand, all the rain starts to fill the canyon. But all that water actually lifts the rock up and his arm is now free. He reaches the top of the canyon and heads to his truck and then drives to a woman's house. I'm assuming it's his ex because she closes the door on him. But hey, Aron, at least you're out of the... Oh. He was just hallucinating. It's now Tuesday and Aron is on a talk show. His own talk show.
We have a very special guest, Aron Ralston! Let's hear it for Aron!
Where he depressingly talks about his situation.
You won't become officially missing until midday Wednesday. I'll probably be dead by then.
In his interview with himself, he reveals that he didn't tell anyone where he was going, so... oops. Oops indeed. He starts apologizing to his family, especially his mom. Then we see him drink the last of his water through the James Franco mouth cam. Ew. Now he decides it's time to try stabbing his arm instead of slicing it. After tasting a little bit of his blood, it's time for another piss break, but this time it's going in and not out. He looks back at his camera and watches the video of him and the girl swimming. He pauses the video when one of the girl's boobs are on screen and considers jorking his shit? Excuse me? Is that what's about to happen? Thankfully, he decides not to. He's carving his name into the wall and he keeps looking behind him. I guess he's entered full-on schizo mode because he gets a Scooby-Doo jump scare. He has more flashbacks of a woman, again, I'm assuming it's his ex, and she says that he's gonna be lonely. He then sees Blue John himself, possibly another one of his exes, not sure. He then has an imaginary family reunion. He starts speaking to his sister, talking about how he promised to play piano with her at her wedding, but he didn't go. And then he goes on to talk about how him and that rock were meant to be. Every moment of his life was leading him to that rock. Then he sees his son, or some child, I don't know. But now here's where things get really crazy. He breaks his arm, and then he snaps it again. He uses his knife to cut a bigger hole in his arm, and each and every tendon tear, there's a sharp pain, and the sound effects that they play in the movie are very fitting. This arm cutting scene right here, you can tell it's a very, very unsettling, sharp pain, and this is probably the best part about the movie. Great sound design, great direction right here, absolutely loved it. Really gross, but also really freaking cool. He keeps cutting and tearing until he finally sets himself free. He wraps up his wound and takes a picture of the rock and says thank you. He travels through the canyon and finds freedom. He sees a big puddle of water and just goes to town on it. Aron starts walking around some more and he spots a family of 3. He calls out to them and says he needs help. Aron gets some water and a rescue chopper. At the end of the movie, we see him swimming, and his family are together once again around the couch. There's some text that pops up on screen saying that his premonition came true and that he met his wife Jessica 3 years later. They had a son named Leo, and Aron continues to be a climber and canyoner, and he always leaves a note that says where he is gone. And there you go. That is 127 hours. Movies that are based off of true stories. While not all of them end up being favorites of mine, they are interesting nonetheless. I don't want to say I was let down by this movie, but I thought it would be more intense, like how am I gonna get out of the situation, but it really focused on like the man and like reflection, how he never truly connected with his family or whatever, and he was always his own independent guy and thought he could do everything on his own. And it feels like at the end where he calls out to that family of 3 for help, it's like oh, see, he finally recognized that he needs help. Yay. I don't know if that was the point. I guess I would have to ask Aron himself, but overall, still a fine movie. Instead of all the visions and hallucinations and flashbacks, I thought we would get more intense, like, what am I gonna do? But it is what it is. It's crazy to think that I was really terrified of watching this when I was younger. If I could go back and talk to 8-year-old me right now, I'd say, don't be a little bitch, this movie is not nearly that bad. But it is a scary situation. I saw a Letterboxd review that says, if you think about it, there could be someone in this situation right now and we would never know. And that's pretty scary. But that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this movie in the comments. If you haven't seen it and you want to go and check it out, come back to this video and let me know if you thought it was good or you thought it was not great. Hey, my cat's here. Hello, cat. But I'll see you in the next video, whatever that may be. Goodbye.